Hey guys, this is the Dream It Alive show. I'm your host, Ash Kumra, co-founder of DreamItAlive.com. We're an online global community site that helps you manifest your dreams and goals with visualization tools, an online dream board, and helpful personal development content. So take that next step, become the best version of you at DreamItAlive.com. Today's guest is someone I've known for a few years now, and I call her one of my virtual good friends because I feel she's a good friend, but I've never met her in person yet. So that's why I call her that term. But all jokes aside, Nitika Chopra is someone who really, in my opinion, represents what it takes to visualize something, put it down on a vision board, and kind of see it happen. Nitika Chopra is the host of Naturally Beautiful, a talk show that airs on the holistic lifestyle channel Z Living. She's also a leader in the beauty industry, reaching over 90 million viewers as an on-air expert for luxury skincare brand Fresh on the home shopping channel QVC. And her passion for beauty has actually helped her reach a lot of fans and followers with her awesome lifestyle magazine, YourBellaLife.com, which is how I first got to know her. And what's cool about her is that she believes beauty isn't just about what you put on your face. It's also about how you take care of yourself from inside out. And she's been featured or has co-written on Huffington Post, Daily Love, Mind Body Green, and she's been featured on Lucky.com as well. So as you guys could tell, Nitika has experienced a lot, and she's still fairly young, and it's just awesome. And if you just hear her talk, you'll just, hopefully like me, get inspired on how you can achieve your own dreams and goals. So Nitika, how are you doing today?
I'm so good. Thank you for that wonderful welcome.
Hey, it's the holidays, so you're welcome. So Nitika, I'm curious. Tell us a little about your journey to how you got to where you are right now.
Sure. Well, I have a journey that's really centered around my health, and that's a huge part of my story. When I was 10 years old, I was diagnosed with psoriasis, which is a skin condition, and although it's typical and a lot of people have it and it's usually, manageable, for me, I got it from the tip of my foot to the tip of my head and ended up getting psoriatic arthritis and couldn't walk for about 4 years. And it was just something that really took over me and really challenged me to make a choice in life. And I made that choice very early on in that diagnosis. I was about 12 years old, so about 2 years in, I just made the choice to believe that my health and the lessons that my body was teaching me were to make me a better person and to go on and help others. They weren't to punish me. And that's really a victim versus responsibility conversation. I don't even know how I was understanding such a conversation at such a young age. But that's kind of where it all started. And then from there, I, at the age of 28, wanted to really parlay all those lessons and put them into a career. And that's what I did when I created YourBellaLife.com, and the rest is history. So,
okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to dive a little into that past prior to launching Your Bella Life, which we will get to, of course.
Sure.
What was one of the first experiences when you just said, you know what, I'm fed up with the way things are going, I'm going to make a change?
Sure. I actually had this one particular experience when I was 20, when I was 12, I had like a rock bottom day, which seems so silly because I was only 12, but I was going through some stuff. And I remember I came home from school and I didn't really do very well in school as a kid. I had, first of all, I learned differently than I think school kind of supports, which is more experiential and visual. And so I didn't grasp a lot of the stuff that was going on in the school very easily. And then on top of that, my body was always distracting me, whether it was from social situations or it was just from my studies in general. So I came home and I had done really bad on a test. And that was something that happened frequently. And I got into so much trouble. It was the kind of trouble that, like, just thinking about it, I can, like, still feel how much trouble I got into. We all have those moments in our past. And I remember going up into my bedroom, and I was really just kind of shaken with sadness and terror and all that kind of stuff just from feeling so bad about this incident. And I went into the bottom of my closet, and I literally just shut my closet door and started like bawling like a baby. And I had this moment where something inside of me, I started to pray for God to let me not live anymore, which is, I know it's like really heavy, but it's true. I was like 12 years old, and I felt like the world was ending because I had this bad test grade and my skin wasn't doing well and all these different things. And I kept praying, God, please, like, just take me away. Like, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm so sick of this. Like, nothing is ever going to be okay. And I heard this voice inside of me say that I could either believe that this was happening because I'm a horrible child and I'm bad at math, which is kind of, as a 12-year-old, that's what I thought. Or I could believe that this is happening for a reason way bigger than myself. And I didn't understand what that meant, to be honest with you, probably until very recent years. I didn't fully understand what that meant. But I chose to believe that it wasn't about me and that these were just experiences that I was having, but that it wasn't a punishment. So that honestly was the biggest life-changing, course-changing moment of my young life, because it changed the way I looked at everything. Every time I would get frustrated with my health, I would go to that place and I would remember that this is happening for a way bigger reason than just me. So yeah.
That was beautiful. And sincerely from the bottom of my heart, I'm so glad that you overcame that, and no one should have to deal with that pain, but at the same time, it kind of helped teach you and make you the strong person that you are, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. I always say your body is your biggest teacher, and I think that that's true for anyone. You know, mine had a lot to teach me, and some people don't have as much to learn from their body, but I just feel like our body is constantly telling us messages, and I'm really passionate about, taking time to slow down and hear what it has to tell you. So even just for simple things, like I have a friend who has insomnia and she's having trouble sleeping. It's like, instead of taking a pill to help you go to sleep at night, how can we slow down and tune in to what it is our body is telling us? Or someone who gets migraines often, instead of taking medicine, and I take medicine, so there's a place for it. So that's not what I'm saying, but it's like a balance between both, That's
amazing. Well, let's take that passion and, first victory, using faith and, wanting to make things happen to your Bella life, and tell us about why you launched that and what was your original vision for it.
Well, I launched it, honestly, for a very specific reason, which I feel like always sounds a little strange, but it's the truth. I had done some soul searching and some meditating on what I really wanted to do for my career. And I had been praying and praying and praying for the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, to show me what my life's purpose was. And I knew that I always loved performing, but I also didn't want to perform just to perform. I didn't want to perform because I was vain. I wanted to perform and be in front of an audience or camera because it's my mode of self-expression. And I wanted to merge that with, all of the lessons that I had learned. So I was just like, all right, how can I do both? How can I be in front of the camera and also share the stories and the lessons that I have to share? And through a long process, it was honestly like a 2-month process of unraveling all of this, I realized that I really wanted to have a talk show. It was something that felt so aligned with every part of my desires. It felt so aligned with, wanting to take care of an audience, wanting to create concepts and segments and relationships, and wanting to really teach through the camera lens. It was something that felt so clearly true for me. And the other thing that was very true was that I had no money, I had no friends, and I had absolutely no experience. So I decided to create all of that. And I basically set on an adventure to create a platform for myself. And I decided that I was going to videotape myself doing these little vlogs, and I was going to create articles, you know, like you would have segments on a show. You would see the articles on my website. And I was going to bring in contributors. So, like, I would have guests on my show. You would see the contributors on my website as an example of all of that. And I literally prayed on it. I charged my credit card over to a graphic designer that I had spent months researching and finally pulled the trigger. And I decided to go for it. I just was like, I don't know if this could be the craziest thing I've ever done, but I felt like it would have been even crazier to not try. So that's what I did.
You know what I love about what you just said?
What?
You took this vision of, I want to have my own TV show, or talk show, I should say, and at the moment, at least, you didn't have the opportunity to be on a talk show. So you made the talk show your environment. You made your website into a talk show. It's like, I don't care. I want a talk show. I don't care if I have, you know, a different way of expressing myself. I'm going to make this a talk show. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, absolutely. I wish more people would do that.
What do you call that? Because I don't know if there's a term for that, but what you just did is, it's pretty cool.
I don't know. What would you call it?
I would call it manifesting your dream no matter what is in front of you.
Yeah, I'm like, I want to call it like no bullshit.
Okay. I forgot. You're from New York, so yeah. I forgot.
That's true. I am from the East Coast.
I know. Us California people are more woo-woo. We're like, manifesting your dream.
Like, no bullshit. Like, I'm not taking anything. Are you kidding? And, you know, on top of that, Ash, like, I was living in New York and I was newly divorced. So I had no support system at the time. I had no friends. I was still dealing with my health. And my parents were living in Hong Kong.
Wow.
So I didn't have like any trust fund, or I didn't have any kind of, you know, investor. I didn't even know that you could get an investor. I was like, what is that? I was completely like at level 0 when it comes to experience and resources. But I was more committed to following my dreams than I was to being afraid.
Okay.
And that's the biggest thing. Yeah.
So tell us about the journey of this. So you turned it into what it is now and all the great stuff that's happened after.
Yeah, well, so I turned my website, you know, I created my website, Bella Life, at yourbellalife.com, and I did that in March. It'll be 5 years, which is crazy to think of. And I literally remember the first newsletter that I posted and like the day that it went live. And I was sitting in my office. I was a real estate agent and I was working full time in real estate and trying to launch this thing at the same time. And I remember I sent the newsletter wrong or something. And I remember all these just issues that happened along the way. So it was definitely rocky, but whatever. And and then about 3 years into starting it, I got a call from this South Asian holistic lifestyle channel that was called Varia Living, which is now called Z Living. And they called me and they basically wanted to set up a meeting with me, and they tested me for 2 of their shows. And one of them was the show that I ended up doing, which is called Naturally Beautiful. And it's a holistic approach to beauty. It's a talk show. We filmed 40 episodes in 5 weeks. It was 8 episodes a week. It was really, it was really exhausting and, invigorating at the same time. It was one of the most exciting things I've ever done. And consequently, I ended up meeting the founder of Fresh, the skincare company, on my show. And cut to about maybe 6 months after that, so it was like 2013, the middle of 2013, we were having dinner because we became friends. And he was telling me about his QVC stuff, and he was telling me how he was flying to China and all over the world, and then he had to come back and, go on QVC at 3 a.m., and it was so, grueling to do all of this stuff, and it was exhausting. And I just looked at him, and I was like, why are you still doing your own QVC stuff? Because I had no idea what QVC, the magnitude of how amazing QVC is and how impressive it is. I didn't quite understand it. I think I had the generic knowledge that most people who don't watch QVC have. So I didn't think it was a big deal. And he was just like, well, it's really hard to find somebody to represent your brand and sell product on live television and have experience and all this stuff. And I just looked at him and said, well, you should just hire me to do it. Which was like one of the gutsiest things I've ever done. And I thought that I was going to lose my dinner right there because I felt like I was going to vomit. I was so excited and nervous all at the same time. Those moments when you don't know if you said something that was horrible or really amazing. It was one of those moments. And it turned out to be really amazing. And he looked at me and said, that's a great idea. I'm going to call my team tomorrow morning. And so I got hired to do that. And and everything else has kind of come from that. I'm really passionate about community as a really healing resource. And it's something that I didn't have for much of my life. So now I'm passionate about bringing it to other women. And I do live events in New York City that are all about community. And our next one is called the Self-Love Celebration on February 12th right here in New York. And it's really exciting. We already have 10 partners signed up, and it's not even January yet. So it's just going to be a great evening. And I do events around the city for my community as well. So that's kind of what's come out of all of it.
Amazing. For the final part of this interview, I want to dive into your habits and your mindset for achieving success. Because clearly anyone who's heard this interview will know that you have a no bullshit approach to getting what you want, which is fantastic. B, you have, whether strategic or it's just divinely orchestrated or a combination of both, you have taken everything that you've done, used it to get a better position or better opportunity constantly. And now with this QVC thing, who knows what's going to happen next? You might have your own skincare line. I don't know. We'll see. I'm curious. Along this journey, especially the younger days of launching yourbellalife.com, what habits or tools or types of things you've done to stay focused on the bigger prize, stay focused on winning the game of life, or being the best you, I should say?
So what keeps me focused, in those moments when it's hard and I feel like I'm not going to keep focused? I have to say, the thing that has probably helped me the most is I was very intentional about praying for the discovery of my purpose. And that was really important to me. And I don't think everybody, kind of spends the time really getting in touch with their purpose. And by purpose, I just mean what gift do I have that I'm meant to share? And how am I going to share it? That's really what I see a purpose as. So I spent, 3 years before I started Bella Life praying to God to help me figure out exactly what my purpose is. And so whenever I get upset, which happens, I won't get things that I think I want to get or that I think I'm going to get, or, I won't have a success with something as much as I thought it was going to be or whatever. I have, failures and losses and all of that, just like everybody else. So whenever I get to those places, I remember that seed of purpose that is inside of me. And that, much like that other phrase I said, about this happening for a much bigger reason, was my anchor. It's that is my anchor as an entrepreneur. Every time I feel like this isn't happening the way I think it's going to happen, or I'm upset because something didn't go well, I feel it, but then I also go to this place of I see this huge vision in the future, and I know that to be true. Like, I know my first and last name. It's not a thought or a dream. It's like a truth for me. So if I know that that's true and I continue to meditate on the truth of that, then I don't have to always understand the way things play out in the current situation.
Wow. What about what do you visualize when, or what did you visualize in those days, like, of what success meant to you? I'm just curious.
What success meant to me? It's changing. It's always changing. I think for a long time, because I'm in what I call, and what many of us here in New York call, this wellness mafia. That's what we call it, because it's just like there's just hundreds of us, and we're all in this little bubble, and it's all about your email list, and it's all about your Instagram and your Twitter followers, and it's so quantifiable. Like, everything that you do is just based on numbers, which is surprising, because I've done everything in my life to get away from math and numbers. So it's just kind of interesting that I've landed in that position in something that I love so much. But I think for a while, like when I first started Bella Life, I was so stressed about the numbers. I was just like, oh my God, I have to get this many followers, and I have to get this many, unique hits, and my Alexa rating has to be this high, and I have to, all these different things. It's just like, it's just crazy. It's just crazy how much those numbers just have a chokehold on you, and like really kind of take away from the purity of what you're doing. And so for me, it's like that's where I go just naturally a lot, because I'm a human being and I'm not some like angel walking this earth. I care about the shit just like everybody else does. But what I try to do is to bring myself back to my heart whenever I am looking at my future and my success. Because if my success is based on numbers, then I think I'll always feel like a failure, because there will always be someone who has more numbers than me. Whether that someone is, Lady Gaga or Kim Kardashian, it doesn't really matter. There will just always be somebody that has more numbers than me. And, if I look at it that way, I will always feel like a failure. I will always be disappointed. But if I look at my success as, am I being 100% in integrity and 100% authentic? And am I giving as much love as I possibly can in the way that makes me feel loved towards myself? That is probably the biggest measure of success for me. So am I in integrity? Am I being 100% authentic? Am I sharing myself in a way that is loving towards myself while loving as many people as I possibly can?
That's awesome. Wow. I need to soak that in for a second. I love that wellness mafia comment. It's so true.
Yeah.
Well, that actually leads me to another question. I remember like 5-10 years ago, things like law of attraction, things like even visualization, in some parts of society, it would be deemed as like woo-woo, like very niche-y. And now, you kind of alluded to this whole wellness mafia, that a lot of things that like law of attraction, visualization, meditation, mindfulness, it seems to be on the mainstream. I mean, Ariana Huffington, Oprah, and all these people are big advocates of it. What do you think is happening in our society that's allowing or that's helping make these things so mainstream and normal?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I think there's just more pain in the world. And so we're gravitating to more healing, and I mean, like Ariana and Oprah both have been through pain that pushed them to want to be happier and have more healing. And there's the kind of people that they are, they want to share that joy and those teachings and what they've learned with others, so I really think that's unfortunately, where it's coming from. But, it's all for a reason, right? So like, okay, so we had to go through some stuff to get to the good stuff, but that's okay. That's true for everybody's life. You usually have to go through some pain to have a breakthrough. It's like the breakdown right before the breakthrough. But I think as a world, as a universe, that's what we're doing. I mean, you can't turn on the computer or the television or, the radio if you're listening in your car without, hearing some sort of devastation that's happening, whether it's Mike Brown or Trayvon Martin or, the massacre that just happened in Pakistan. I mean, there's just, it's just overwhelming, the pain. And it's kind of like if you think about anything in your own life, when it gets to be overwhelmingly painful is when we make a change. Whether it's somebody who needs to lose weight, it's like they won't lose the weight until it's overwhelming for them. Overwhelmingly painful. Not overwhelming like I can't do it because it's so hard, but like overwhelmingly painful. Like they're pushed to a place where they're in so much pain that happiness and trying to achieve it is the only option left.
Yeah. Along those lines, I mean, you talked about some of the stories of why they overcame things. Who are some people right now in the self-growth wellness arena that you are just inspired by, and why?
Well, I always say that the only person that I'm allowed to idolize, and I tell this to her face, is Chris Carr. I always say that because she just, to me, I've become friendly with her over the last couple of years, just because I like attack her every time I see her, and I will say she is a person who walks her talk. She really does, and being somebody who has dealt with my health being one of my biggest teachers, as has she. I just admire, how much she has taken that journey and really funneled all of it into helping other people. It's just incredibly inspiring to me. And, at the same time, I feel like she's still on her own journey, and she's very upfront and honest and candid about that, which is just really beautiful. Like those are the kinds of leaders that, I really admire, the kinds that really, strip away all the bullshit and, just that she's really herself as much as you can be in a public setting. And so I could go on, and I could have a whole interview just about how much I love her. So don't ask me too many more questions about her, because I could just talk about her forever. Yeah.
Okay. No, that's awesome. I was just curious because it seems like you're so you're aware of all the different things that are going on. So I'm just curious who inspires you. So that's cool. My last question to you is, if you could talk to that younger version of yourself, let's say a 21-year-old version of yourself, what advice would you give that version of you?
Well, my 21-year-old version, oh God, she was so lost in so many ways. I would say, I would tell her, what would I tell her? I want to really be honest about what I would tell her. I would probably tell her to spend more time getting to know herself. I feel like the first 7 years of my 20s, I didn't even know what getting to know yourself really meant. I was on autopilot for a lot of things, and I think that's kind of common when you're younger. It's like you just go from your parents' house to your college, from your college to your first job, to your, you know what I mean? It's like you don't really have, you're just kind of trying to like make it to the next thing in a lot of ways. And so I think that I would tell her to spend more time getting to know herself, because it's not as scary as one might think. So yeah, that's what I would tell her.
Okay. Well, Nithika, I am sincerely just so happy to have done this interview with you, and I'm a little quiet because I'm literally absorbing a lot of the things that you're saying. It's really awesome, and thank you so much for doing this interview. Thank you so much for making the world be a better place, and I cannot wait to see the awesome things you're going to do in 2015 and beyond.
Yay! Thank you for having me. I'm so happy we got to chat, and I'm excited to see what you do next year, too.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.